My name is Jacob Svensson, and I'm working as a machine learning engineer for Altair Engineering, using AI and machine learning in different ways to kind of perform data analytics across different enterprises. With me, I got my trusted colleague, Demi.
Hey Jacob, thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Demi. I work with the data and analytics team here in Lund, and we're gonna get right into this.
So we've been, especially for me since COVID, I basically haven't been doing any sort of customer visits, anything like that in almost 3 years, which is kind of crazy because
It's a long time.
immediately when I started working at Altair, they were sending me out on customer meetings. You go there, you show PowerPoints, technical demonstrations, you kind of have that interaction between different people. And especially for someone working within sales, I think it's such an important thing to kind of create that
I agree.
personal connection, you know?
Absolutely. And you kind of miss that, just like behind the Teams meetings. Although I will say that it's wonderful to have Teams meetings, to have the flexibility.
Yeah.
But to be back out there and going out to clients again, there's something magical about it. I really like that.
Yeah, me too. And especially because I've worked with companies for a little bit of a longer time, so maybe like a couple of weeks or a couple of months, and I still barely know what they look like, barely know what their name is.
Right.
I've never met them in person. I've never gotten like a real image of who is this human.
Yeah.
So it also becomes this thing where as soon as the project with this person ends, they're out of my mind. I have no idea who this person is.
And it's that it goes back to like our human connections of like the whole package. So when we were out there meeting the people, like we got to do these small jokes with them.
Yeah.
They got to also feel our vibe essentially.
Exactly.
And
I
also
guess just remembering them
exactly.
better. It's like, oh yeah, you know what? I met that guy who told me how to do this specific thing, and now I can just call him, and maybe they can help me out in a project or work together, or create any sort of partnership or collaboration when it comes to sort of an enterprise doing work like that.
And it's just so much harder to be able to do that well over a screen. Although we're getting better
there.
at it. Like,
but I mean, it's still like the colleagues that you actually met. Those are going to be the ones that you kind of work with in sort of a long term. In a long term time scale, I guess, because if you do it. If you never met them, I really know a lot of people over the last 2 years that I've been working so much with, but I have no idea. They didn't make any sort of imprint in my mind, and they're very funny people and very interesting people. I'm not saying that.
And you're pretty funny, and like I think you're memorable as well.
Exactly. But you know what makes me the most memorable is how tall I am. And you can't see that on Teams. Everyone's like, whoa, you're way taller than you look.
And then they meet you and you're like, whoa, hello.
Exactly. And now it's going to be imprinted. It's like, whoa, that tall guy. He's so tall.
They remember you.
Exactly. But now it's like, people just, I think they forget easier. And they're like, well, okay, whatever. It doesn't matter. It's a team call. I can like do my laundry and feed my dog at the same time when they're speaking about the most important thing ever.
I don't know. Okay, yeah.
Maybe a little bit exaggerated, but you know what I mean.
I get you.
Anyway, we went to Denmark.
We did. It was really nice. Yeah.
We presented some of the solutions that we have from Altair when it comes to data analytics.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just such an interesting thing, especially, you were there seeing me doing a demo for the first time.
That was super
showing sort of a use case where we tried to figure out a little bit of, I guess it was, not only sort of a presentation of the capabilities that we have today, but also sort of a vision for the future.
Yeah.
Really having this connected systems where managers and sort of administrative people can do as little work as possible when it comes to handling their data and analyzing the data, just really putting in the data and getting sort of a feedback immediately.
And one of the things I really appreciated was that when you did that part of the demo with our our product and I saw like the light bulb going off in several of the people, I was just like, this is so cool because you see it like real time. It's really happening.
They are really getting into the conversation.
And that goes back again to just the power of that face-to-face meeting because you got that. And then I think you also picked up on that. Yeah. And then they got to ask questions and it was like, I'm looking forward to more.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Really
and it was really good.
Really
but
good.
We should also say it was kind of interesting that what the people were most interested in, or at least for when I was filling the room and trying to figure out what they were interested in, it really seemed like it was this boring data preparation stuff. We just got so many questions like, whoa, you can prepare data in this tool? Where the whole issue with their pipelines right now was just the data preparation. They couldn't do it.
And they didn't believe you.
No.
The suspicion level was like quite high. It was like, what are you, what?
There's no way you can prepare these
You're
files.
You're talking nonsense here.
And it's so crazy because they knew all about, what the acronym ChatGPT stands for, the transformers libraries, extremely technical stuff from sort of open source libraries together with Python, together with, theoretical stuff about machine learning. But if they get a PDF with the data in it, they're like, oh yeah, I guess I'm screwed. I can't even work with it.
I know, but it was just, I loved it. It was just like that coming togetherness.
Yeah.
Like when they saw you do it, they were like, okay.
So maybe this is how you would do it.
And that was just like, it was beautiful. It was like, it is like the starting point for everything else that they're going to do. So, and I think what was like, you lifted off a lot of shoulders was like, this is going to save me so much time. I'm going to be like living, stress-free here.
Exactly.
It was like,
so much easier.
It was wonderful to just like, I just felt that like the one guy even like mentioned like, this is just a little therapy session here. I'm just going to get it off my chest. And I love that because it was like a moment of realness that he had with you. Because even though I'm not like working with it, I'm sure you've like did like in, for the demo work and stuff, you understand a lot more than I do.
Yeah.
But when he said those words, I was like, dude, I got you. Yeah. I understand exactly what you mean. And it was like you were just like answering something that was really real and relevant for him.
Exactly. And I think, that's what you want to get to at least. Yeah, you want to make sure that you address sort of the problems that they're actually facing.
Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah.
Right? So,
and I mean, to the listeners a little bit here on what we were actually showing. And I really want to hear your thoughts on this. What you think the future will look like, because I've really been playing around with this a lot. The way that we did it was basically you have a visualization service connecting to these deployed models, as we call them. So the models, the machine learning models, the data analytics models, the pipelines and everything is deployed on a server. You are connecting to this server to get sort of the insights that you're looking for. So you can provide the data to the server, that gives you the insights.
Right.
But I'm really wondering here, because now and we were speaking about this the last episode, I don't know if we're going to publish that or not, but you have stuff like the stuff from OpenAI, ChatGPT and stuff like that. Then you have open source stuff, sort of equivalents to the ChatGPT. So that means that you can just ask this stuff anything you want without having to pay anything. ChatGPT, OpenAI, not open source completely. The chat functionality is open, but that's the only thing that is open. Everything else you have to pay for.
Right.
And then you have open source communities where everything is completely open. But I'm sure that you might have something going on in your brain here saying, well, if everything is open, what happens when companies are sending their sensitive data there? Right. What is going on there? Exactly. And then you kind of have us somewhere in the middle where you have sort of a capability of building your own models. So we actually don't provide these models. The models you have to build yourself, but it's still a locked system. So this is where you are in charge of your security here, so no one can really just go in and change stuff or get all your data and stuff like that. So I'm wondering here, just like a thought experiment, and also like from sort of a financial standpoint, what would you say, like intuitively for yourself, what makes the most sense? Would you go with paying for OpenAI? It can become extremely expensive quite fast. Open source models, you might have the security issue, or But maybe this question is a little bit strangely formulated.
You're thinking like like a subscription-based model, like paying for that kind of service. And so who would pay for that then? Those the people making up those models?
So well, exactly. I mean, we kind of have this subscription license model, right? So but once you sort of subscribe to us, you can publish anything you want and kind of build it as big as you want. Whereas I guess OpenAI is like a complete black box solution. You're just asking it for stuff. You can't really retrain it or rework it in any kind of way unless you do a lot of tweaking and stuff. Whereas we are really sort of it is a little bit like this toolbar we were talking about. Like you can build anything you want, but you also have to build it yourself. It's not like IKEA or anything like that. You kind of have to like make it yourself.
Or okay, I get that. So you're interested to know, like, would you pay for it? And
Yeah. But I guess also from your perspective, not working too much with data analytics, would you build it yourself? Is that something that you think you could?
Never.
No,
I'm
exactly.
sorry.
No.
I'm just of the school of thought that I mean, why would you try to do something
that is available,
and maybe available in such a way, like maybe kind of what you're saying? Can you tweak whatever's available, like a template or something? Yeah. Can you build on it, tweak it, get it to how you would like it to be? Because it's like Lego. I mean, just let Lego be. Or are they giving you the other parts to make up something exactly like whatever you want it to be? Yeah. So I wouldn't start from scratch. Absolutely not.
Not at all. No, exactly.
But I guess really, there are people that would want to.
Who really wants to get into that kind of stuff.
But at the way the world is going, I mean, time is money.
Exactly.
So I don't know.
It's just kind of interesting because I mean I've been playing around with all of these alternatives for a week now, and just to see a little bit what is happening. So I made an application to kind of to look at the top 30 sort of news articles about cryptocurrency and give you sort of a feedback. Is it positive or is it negative this week? So are people talking positively about cryptocurrency? Are the news positive or negative?
Okay.
And using this information, you could make a sort of an investment strategy.
Right.
And it's kind of interesting because, I mean, now, before, I guess companies had to set up a server and connections, and they had to research and everything like that. Now, one person can do this with limited knowledge of programming. Anyone could do it. So you can really set it up.
And you successfully set that up.
Yeah, so you have a score and you can see, okay, these are all the sort of articles that are coming out. This is the sentiment analysis. We call it sentiment analysis for sort of predicting if it's positive or negative. And then you can make sort of a visualization that would kind of say, do you want to invest or do you not want to invest and stuff like that. Right. But it really becomes this question of... I'm really trying to figure out if this, because I'm using open source only, so this is completely free. But I'm wondering if this is sort of the best way to move forward. If really sort of open source is sort of the future, because it also becomes it becomes more complex, less user friendly, less secure, and stuff like that. So I'm really wondering if this is sort of the way to move forward. Yeah.
Well, interesting to know what the other people out there. I don't really have that much input on that, but it's interesting.
Yeah,
maybe
because I think most of the big consultancy companies, they really are moving into sort of a paying for these kind of solutions. And I think it's the same as, you had all of these, we were talking about this kind of tool belt last time we were speaking about having sort of an AI tool belt that you build specific tools for the sort of specific problems you're trying to solve, that you wouldn't sort of, in this sort of analogy, you wouldn't use a hammer to drill a hole or something like that.
Exactly.
And I mean, I think before, like a long time ago, I think everyone was making sort of their own tools, and there's this story that in London in the 1500s, there were 70 different hammers you can buy.
70. Wow.
70 different hammers. So there were 70 different types of hammers that was like, you want to get this hammer for that, this hammer for that. If you go to a normal shop, you will find one today. So it's like, there's one, this is the one you're using. Someone is producing this for you. It's not like, anyone is like, well, I need a hammer for this specific stuff, or this specific stuff. It becomes a little bit the same as maybe just one company make the best hammer, and we just get that design of hammer. So it becomes a little bit similar there, that I think it actually makes a lot of sense for companies to kind of invest in a tool that just does all of this sort of automatically for them.
If I can just figure, because following our tool belt analogy, so ChatGPT. There are going to be, or there is currently, correct me if I'm wrong, different platforms. So we have there is a finance one. And that, so is that then going into the tool belt analogy? Because then that would be very much like focused on specifically people in the finance world. So brokers, investors, banks, that kind of thing. Is that how you see this panning out? Because I find it really interesting, like the people behind ChatGPT, so they are owned by a corporate company. And I find the debate and the discussion around it like very interesting in terms of is it prejudiced? And so and I do believe to a certain, they're not going to go out right and say we're prejudiced or whatever. But I do believe that when profit is in the backbone of something, it will
always,
But
how can it not be?
How can it not be?
Prejudice?
Exactly.
It's crazy.
And then this openness becomes like, well, this is not really democracy. No. Because I guess to the end user, that is where you have to do this. That everybody's got to be a bit cautious about whatever they're gonna get out of it.
Yeah.
And not cautious. Maybe the better word is question everything that's coming out. And so because I heard another guy talking about it, and he was talking about American politics. So they'd put in what is the Democrat?
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden, and they asked,
Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, right?
Right. And it was some kind of line, and there was a bias,
of course.
And it's obvious. I mean, what is programming the model,
Yeah.
So if you and that's what I think. There is a lot of trend talk about ChatGPT and things, and I think people are missing that thing that. In the backbone of it, there are a bunch of humans, right? And they're kind of setting parameters and not really, I don't know. I'm not going to get very technical about it because but it's to a normal end user, I think there's an even bigger need right now that you can't be I don't want to know anything about this, because you really have to educate yourself. You have to know what's going on.
But on the point versus if you look at Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, I think the thing that is kind of an issue here as well is that there probably just was a bias of the material that the bot was trained on as well. That the publicity around Donald Trump there was this kind of media circus that didn't really stop. And I think they were aware of it themselves, that it was okay, maybe we're publishing a little bit too much negative here. And there was, I know there was this news story about media outlets that really was we were part of making him as big as he was. We gave him, there was an estimate of, I think it was $2 billion in free advertisement. If you look at across the different media, across the different places in the world, just because they were speaking so much negativity about them, which is completely insane. But that was also that was kind of the
bots that because I'm not sure if you followed the whole Johnny Depp that whole thing.
I followed
there was a specialist guy that had come on, and he was talking exactly about this topic. And so much of that negative news
feedback
was fed about Depp, right? That it just became this truth.
Exactly.
And so maybe that is kind of a similar thing there, that not enough positive stuff has been pushed through. But then I also do question, again, back to the whole thing, who owns this? So
who checks it out?
How closely are they aligned to the different media companies? In the States, it is quite big. I would imagine in our Scandinavian countries, it's a little bit more there's tough regulations. So it's not the same thing. Not that I'm saying it doesn't exist.
No.
But and so I think it was interesting listening to that discussion, because then. That's where I am cautious about about this technology. I love it, we've talked about it. I really do love the way that it's been let out to the masses, and they basically okay, here you go, test it out. We want to know what's good, what's bad, and give us your feedback. And to the people oh my god, this is really dangerous. It's it can be very evil, and I do get that, and that's the part where I feel let's be cautious and remember when it's telling you something negative back about a political figure that question that a little bit, or maybe restructure your question, or I don't know.
Because every time I work with data, and I was speaking to our colleague the other day about this, every time I'm working with data, and the AI and machine learning model has a chance to become sexist, ageist, racist, whatever it can. It does. It always. It does. Every single time it tries to be it always goes for the kind of parameters that you don't want it to go for. And that's why we have sort of warning things in our software to make sure that, if you're using this, you are kind of part of the problem of, kind of cementing these kind of biases in the society. Because of course, you have sort of as a historical ground, I mean, women have lower lower amount of money, lower pay and stuff like that, right? And that is just going to be cemented by the AI algorithm because it only sees what it is right now.
Exactly.
So we're trying to kind of push it like, okay, but don't think like this. We're trying to change this. Yeah. But AI doesn't care. No. The AI is just a racist.
How can it?
No, exactly.
And that also is like the discussion about, the guys behind ChatGPT about the question was raised, is it conscious?
Yeah.
And I'm like... there's no consciousness,
no.
Right? But then there's two ways of thinking about it.
Yeah, I guess it's...
Because somebody was also saying, well, referencing back to a movie about an AI, like a robot, and it was a female, and she had to get free from this kind of whoever had created her.
Ex Machina, is that one?
I think so. So. And like she did get free.
Yeah.
And one of the end scenes was that she had a little grimace.
Wait. Are we doing a spoiler here, or what are we doing?
I don't know. What are we doing? I'm just saying that to relate it back to the consciousness.
I'm just for our listeners, if they haven't seen Ex Machina, it's the coolest movie.
Sorry.
Wait, are you thinking about Ex Machina?
Are you talking the Swedish title? I don't know.
No. This is the English. It's with the Vikander. What is his name? No, it's some Vikander and.
It's been a while ago since I watched it.
It's an old movie.
But okay, all right. Sorry, it was a spoiler then.
Sorry,
guys.
Are we doing spoilers? Okay, so if you don't want to hear the spoiler, please forward the episode or something like that in a couple of 10 seconds. Okay, but go for the spoiler. People have seen Ex Machina.
Okay, so it's like the female robot does get free and then smile in the end. Now the smiling is up for interpretation. Does that mean that then the AI has gotten to a point of like
consciousness,
right?
And
well, where does that come from? Has somebody then trained the AI to say, well, when you get free, you just say suck it, you know, like, or I don't know what you say, but it's like it's that feeling of conquering something, and so, but to take it as far as saying that's consciousness, I don't know.
No, but I mean, you could. I guess that's the issue, right? But you could argue the same thing with animals. Like, we don't know. Like, maybe this fly that you killed the other day, maybe that is completely conscious. It just doesn't communicate in a way that human doesn't understand. But they have goals and kids, and they're like so happy with it, and they're really complex from a religious and spiritual level and everything like that. But then again, we can't go finger around that all the time because we don't like flies for some reason.
Yeah, and I don't that whole discussion might go into some other like animal rights situation. But like when it comes to our like if we think of like a robot, like I wonder if that will go into that as we move on. Like, would a kid get so attached to like let's just like 20 years from it could be maybe 10 years from now that you get like a proper like a robo dog or something or
friend or girlfriend or
and then that creates that kind of feeling like of course my robo dog is but I don't know for me I just personally can't
no, you
can't
wouldn't
see
really.
that. I can't.
What do you think about this whole virtual reality? Would you live in the virtual world as well, or
no? I don't know.
You wouldn't spend time in there and stuff.
No, I'm having way too much fun here.
Okay, we'll just not get into the whole.
Would you?
I think it's so cool.
Yeah. What is cool about it?
I don't know, because it just feels like if you're sitting in front of a screen and you're like at work all day, you sit in front of a screen. Just feels like, but this might be the stupidest thing you've ever heard anyone say. No. I just want to go in there and then I could have all my, I don't know, like I could just walk around in the work environment and be like, here's my emails, here's my meetings, here's my stuff. And then we sit like this and it would be like a person who's in China or something like that.
Yeah. Is it that sensation of like being like floating around and like being able to do all these different things? I get that.
It just feels like such a stupid thing that we're just sitting in this two-dimensional space.
Yeah.
When it feels like any other project that I'm working with, I'm in a three-dimensional space. If I gotta pick up a couple of things like this, I'll do like this.
Okay. Well, I haven't thought about it in that way. Like, of course, I would like that. Like, floating around, getting stuff done, and
you got like all your like files here and stuff there, and like a visualization here, and especially for a company like Altair who's creating a bunch of 3D models.
True.
Look at the 3D models, and
Okay. All right, I'm sold. You're good at that.
Yeah. I mean, we don't do any virtual reality
I think
here.
I was like very much when you said it. I was kind of like more like thinking about the metaverse and like very much in terms of.
But we have a board member who is like really big.
I do.
She gave me like a bunch of just before we started, we got a bunch of money on our website to create our own NFTs. So I actually have an NFT.
No way.
Which I forgot what it was called and the password to. So if someone finds it and figures out how the hell NFT works, then I'm probably rich. But
okay, well that's hilarious. I did not know that.
She has like an NFT domain creation webpage. So it's basically like, did you hear this thing about like how people were registering IKEA.com and stuff like that before IKEA registered it themselves?
I have followed it, like, so the whole Spider-Man, when Disney released the NFTs, when Snoop Dogg bought property in, like, I mean, I followed quite a bit of that, and that's when you mentioned that whole, getting into, did you say the metaverse? Like, that's what I was thinking, like, well, I don't want to put my money like Snoop Dogg did on property. But when you said it, like, well, yeah, I can do my work in this whole other.
That's what I'm thinking.
I'm there for that, but I'm not there for this whole like. I mean, this buying merchandise like that. I can't.
But then someone said Sara Larsson sold.
Yeah.
You were talking about it.
Yeah, it was Eric that mentioned it. Yeah. And it was not for, it was for quite a bit of dough.
He said it was like $10 million, but it was not $10 million.
Wasn't it like 8 million Swedish kroners?
Oh yeah, there was something like that.
Okay, well, under 10 million. That's quite a lot of millions.
She still made more money than something else.
She released a song in Roblox, and the song, her selling her merchandise in Roblox made more money than the actual song. So and I've got kids that play Roblox, so
and they're buying
I get that. I get that.
So for some reason people are buying it. I don't get it at all. But
look, I was just like, I'm not going to buy something in the metaverse, and I'm like, handing out money to my kids and they're buying it in in this other world. I don't know.
But it's just a bunch of pixels. No, but I feel like that's a little bit with this whole crypto and NFT stuff. It's people are hyping it up so much, but the clear use case is still being developed, I think, and that's why I think it's a little bit dangerous for Snoop Dogg to put his hard-earned money into it right now. I'll tell you, Snoop Dogg, take it easy.
Well, I don't know how much of that was actually like his hard-earned money and them like asking him. So I can't remember the exact facts of that.
Yeah.
But then it's like it obviously created the hype. It got what they needed to happen, which was like, oh my gosh, we maybe need. Don't you want to like buy a little apartment next to Snoop Dogg? And that's what happened. It created this like whole hype.
But it also was like a point, I think, because I invested in some cryptocurrency. I don't know when it was, but it was at some point where it was like super high, and then it completely crashed a couple of years ago.
We also, I mean, the whole thing is that I don't really necessarily have like walked away from it or anything. The thing is that we've had a lot of things happening in our real world market with recession and a lot of other factors post-pandemic, all of that. So there's a lot of other things that will come into play, but I don't think I don't say no to it, because
me neither. But
I mean, we are gonna get to this stage where people are gonna be like, okay, cash money, like no, I'm gonna pay for it using whatever kind of currency.
Coin, and it's like digital, the whole thing, and it's like it probably is better in a lot of ways. But it's the thing that is happening, and I mean, you just have this digital way of paying of stuff that is working so well. So if you compare this to sort of how people are using AI and stuff now,
right?
I think if you look at 2 years ago, people, I guess they were looking at a lot of tools and saying like, okay, AI is cool, but I still don't really know how I'm going to use this. And then today you have people who are completely inexperienced with working with any sort of data or with any sort of software engineering or anything like that. They're creating their own apps, their own way of analyzing data, their own way for making decisions and actually creating value out of this. Like, people are making a lot of money using ChatGPT, like, for instance, stuff like that.
Right.
It's just that here you have sort of maybe a very hyped industry like AI and machine learning, but still a clear use case where people are
definitely
sort of creating value.
Absolutely.
Whereas this thing with crypto is still like this whole value thing is not really coming in the same way that ChatGPT is coming into the AI world.
The whole basis for it, like a lot of the people that have invested quite heavily and they can afford to invest quite a lot, because that's the whole thing. Like, don't invest what you really can't afford
what
to
you
lose.
can do that.
What I appreciate from it is that there isn't that strong different governments stopping you from doing stuff with your money. Well, I mean, obviously there's rules and regulations. There has to be for reasons, right?
Yeah.
Although now there is strict regulations or stricter, probably.
Even for cryptocurrencies.
Yeah,
because it was a story about like terrorist organizations being funded through Bitcoin and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, I think 3-4 years ago, it hasn't. They didn't see the need for that kind of regulation, and so the need arises. I mean, it comes up, and then they have to have conventions and like make rules about these things, because I think some people were also then moving the money into buying property, and then that becomes a whole how they did that, or what is the storyline. But the technical the to get there, to buy a property, it's possible. How they take out the money and all of that, well, that is why then they have to have like these regulations. Where did the money come from? And that is important.
It is. And I mean, you have to also remember that the whole industry kind of got its start from drug trade. That's
not good.
No, exactly.
PR.
Yeah, that's kind of a bad thing for it to start. And I guess that was sort of like the main use case at least in the beginning, and then you kind of grew out into different places. And now there are definitely more stuff you can do with it, but it's not sort of been embraced in the same way.
I get it completely. I get it. I think that there's a lot more that has to happen for people to get there. But what I'm interested in now, that crypto that you created, what if like people have invested a whole ton in that, and you're like, I can't remember the login.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I know what it's called, but it's like the name is more complex, and there's like a password, and you have to connect to the web.free, and there's a million things to keep track of. And I was also doing it in the middle of I did it. I forgot what it was. So it was so nice speaking to you, Demi, and looking forward for the next episode.
So am I. So are we going to go into what we're going to talk about, or?
It's going to be art related. It's going to be ChatGPT related. It's going to be maybe a little bit about the Harry Potter Balenciaga commercial. If we get into it, let's see. Exactly.
All right, cool. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.